Hi, I'm really excited. Next month, I have a story being published in a book called She Writes for Him Stories of Living Hope. I want to share with you a little bit about the book, a little bit about the story, and a little bit about my journey as to how this came about. She Writes for Him Stories of Living Hope is part of a series, and the first in the series was called She Writes for Him Stories of Resilient Faith. This is a publication of Redemption Press, and you can see it's a beautiful hardcover book. There's foil embossing on the cover, and each page is embellished with beautiful artwork. There's a place for journaling your thoughts as you read the stories. And there are 30 authors contributing to this new edition called Stories of Living Hope. And here's the cover reveal that was sent to us by the publisher. It'll be blue this time, but still have the same beautiful foil embossing on the cover, the same design on the interior, and the places for journaling, as well as prayers and scriptures to share with you. There are 30 authors in this collection, so 30 stories of living hope. And I think it'll be a real encouragement for people who are going through very difficult times. Some of the topics are when people are found in really hard places, such as cancer, addiction, abuse, and just really some of life's most challenging circumstances, and then how God has stepped into the midst of those circumstances and has brought hope and his redemption. And so I'm very excited to be included with authors such as Liz Curtis Higgs, Pam Farrell, and Debbie Ellsdorf. Those are maybe some names that you know, and then also a whole host of other authors with just amazing stories. The story that I wrote is called Building Fairy Tale Castles. It's in part my story and in part the story of one of my daughters who is a survivor of domestic violence. And the real focus of the story is about parents of adult children walking with their children through really difficult circumstances and challenges, and how God is with us and with our child. This is an area that God has really challenged and encouraged me to write more about. I am now working on another book and a prayer guide for parents. I have a Facebook group available for parents of adult children that we can pray with one another and share our experiences. We don't stop being parents when our kids are grown up. But definitely the relationship changes and our role changes. And sometimes we can feel a little bit helpless, but we don't need to feel hopeless because there is always hope in God. Let me share with you the scripture that I used in the story. It comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 3, beginning in verse 10, and it says, "Because of God's grace to me, I have laid the foundation like an expert builder. Now others are building on it. But whoever is building on this foundation must be very careful, for no one can lay any foundation other than the one we already have, Jesus Christ." The scripture goes on to talk about the materials that are chosen when we build. And that's kind of the situation we're in as parents of adult children. We lay a foundation when our kids are young. But when the kids are grown, they are building their own castle, if you will. And they choose the materials that they build with. We can advise, we can speak into their life just as much as they will allow. We can celebrate their success with them. We can cry with them with their failures and grief. But the biggest thing that we can do throughout this process is to be available and to pray. And that's where God has really been leading me. You know, I'm the mom to a bunch of adult children, and they've all had their experiences. And I can only trust that God will redeem those experiences in their life the same way he has in mine. I know that some of the most difficult experiences that I've gone through, the most heartbreaking things that I'm sure that my mom wishes I had never experienced, Yet, those are the places where God stepped into my life and caused incredible growth and brought hope, and then brought opportunities for me to be able to minister to others. So, as much as I don't want my children to go through difficult situations, and especially not like the one that I write about in this story, these are things that we definitely don't want to see happen. Yet, this is a fallen world, and we know that things do happen, and God is faithful, and God can and will redeem these difficult and really challenging situations to His good glory and His purposes. And we know that there is victory ultimately and healing. And that's the story that I have written, and I hope it is a blessing to many people. And if you're interested in finding out more about the book, you can actually even pre-order now. It'll be launched in January is when it's available from the publisher, but it's available for pre-order now on my website, teresajanzen.com, and that's Janzen with a Z, remember, teresajanzen.com. You can sign up for my newsletters to hear more about it. There will be that prayer guide coming out very soon, like I said, and I'm actually going to make that available free for anyone who does sign up for my newsletter. And then you'll also be able to pre-order the book, She Writes for Him, Stories of Living Hope. Thank you, and I really just want to pray with you and for your children along the way, so please feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear more from you and about the journey that you have had as a parent of an adult child. Thanks. God bless.